YouTube right now. We are live on YouTube. How are we doing today? Beautiful Monday here in New York City after literally a week of just absolute chaos, skies, and then on the weekend it rained on Saturday. I know there was a half marathon going on in Brooklyn, so obviously there was a couple people that were a little bit drenched, to say the least. So what are we going to be talking about today? You know, I've been talking about if you can't do that amount of business and really go where you want to go if you're not adding the value. And after 15 years, I think he's been in the industry, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, okay, where do we go from here? So BPIU is essentially, as you can see, is empowering the agent for the marketplace. The marketplace is getting disrupted. It's changing. I enjoy it. I like it because that kind of like wipes out all the brokers that are not adding any value. And there's a lot. You know, I talk about it with my clients, and I'm in 100% agreement that there is just a complete necessary adjustment by real estate agents. You know, the ways of park bench advertising and putting it on the bus stops and, you know, on the shopping carts, those are gone. You know, you have to be a totally different agent now. You have to be the agent that's out there. You have to be the public figure. You have to be able to be doing not only video, you're going to be producing content like I am right now. And that's essentially, you know, if you could see what we're doing right now, it's incredible. You know, I have a couple screens going on. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. This is the future. The future is now. It's always been said that way, you know. I'll just give you a little bit of history before I go into the brokerage websites. You know, I've been tracking the figures, I've been tracking the traffic, I've been seeing where consumers are actually finding their listings. You know, there's a lot of thinking that goes on behind the scenes that say, okay, I need to adjust, and how am I going to adjust? And that's essentially what this is, you know, is how are you guys going to adjust, real estate agents, salespeople, or are you going to go the way of, you know, a travel agent or a stockbroker or, you know, the music industry, or even you just look at content in general. You look at YouTube, you look at Netflix, Instagram, all these platforms that are actually, it's all about the attention, okay? So this is what I've noticed over the course of probably 6 years. You know, I've had BPI for 4 years, the company. And what I noticed was, in the beginning, I said the website is 100% necessary. So I first got this really crappy website on Wix. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with Wix, but it's Wix.com. And essentially, I don't know if it's an Israeli company or I think it might be, I don't know. But it has a very user-friendly way to produce a website if you're brand new. You know, I wasn't brand new, but I kind of wanted a certain way. I knew that content was coming. $1 million. It's going to be a 2-bedroom, and this is the area I'm looking for. Can you help me? You know, that was probably 2010 to 2012. You know, I only started in 2009. So this is, you know, people that started in 2005 was a little bit different. Obviously, you had New York Times, you had, you know, a bunch of other ways. I don't know if the stream is going to be cutting out on YouTube, but we're still live on Instagram. So what I noticed in 2012 is that buyers, 2010, they would come to us and say, I'm looking to buy, can you help me? 2012 was a totally different year. You know, obviously Zillow and Trulia were already conquering the United States. And whatever that listing service is for you guys outside of New York, but in New York, it was Street Easy. Street Easy got acquired by them for a insane rate of $50 million. It was very user-friendly. It had all the information, had all the listings, it had everything. It had past sales, it had who was a listing agent, it was just laid out. It was just the UX was there, the user experience was there. So it started taking over, and I remember being in the downtown office, and I've discussed this before, but I just remember hearing all these top agents. Again, I'm only 4 years into the industry. Hearing all these top agents and they're saying, oh my God, the Street Easy thing. And I'm like, okay, you know, add the value, you know, like increase your value, you know, get a little bit better. Like, of course something is going to happen. You know, it's the freaking internet. You know, it's like Amazon's already been disrupting a ton of industries. Look at Circuit City at that time. Look at Best Buy at that time. Obviously now we're looking at Toys R Us and all these other, you know, look at cosmetics and fashion. They're all getting disrupted by Amazon. And by the way, Amazon, they just reported their Q1 earnings. They're doing pretty well. They have some healthy financial figures, and they're only growing. I think they had a 24% year over year, was it 24%? Right around there. 24%. That's pretty good for an established company of almost 20 years now. 20 years? 1998? Yeah, that's good math. Thanks, guys. So then I started noticing, okay, so StreetEasy started taking over, is that people came to us in 2012 when I was at Halstead Property, and actually difference. That's a big difference. That means that the consumer was getting empowered. They were having, as I call, the Amazon effect. I actually posted on Instagram. They had the Amazon effect. The Amazon effect essentially says, this is the new standard. The new standard in shipping, in consumer electronics, or just consumerism in general is free returns, 2-day shipping, free 2-day shipping, and incredible customer service. That's the Amazon effect. That's the new standard. So the new standard in the industry was, okay, fantastic, thank you for adding value, real estate agents. We can get all that information that we normally get from you online, but we're going to need this. So that was, obviously the qualifications going into the board. That was, navigating not only the board process, but, negotiating and everything else. And I'll get into something, but this popped into my mind. So Michael Dell, obviously Dell Computers. So he said in 2000, I think it was last year, he said something very interesting. So we went from I want to save money in 2010 to 2014, 2015. I wanted to save money. That was the consumer consensus. I want to save money on my shipping, on, there was transparency. That's always been the case. What's the product reviews? What are other people saying? YouTube would say, this is how it was put together. This is me unboxing the product. So that, what I noticed is, I started a website, Wix. Then I got a really expensive website, and really expensive for someone that's bootstrapping it. It's really expensive. It was a $7,500 website initially. Then I think it was another $3,000, and that was called the Real Estate Webmasters. And it was unbelievable. It was beautiful. It was so nice. But nobody went there. Nobody went there. And I noticed, I'm like, why am I spending $3,000 a year? And I'm not even getting the value from it. So then I started really thinking about, is this necessary? Am I trying to create something that is just an illusion? And I was, I was trying to create the illusion that people wanted to come to my website for the listings. Why? So here's the two things. Number one is the branding. And number two is that I think it's mandatory, the RLS, which is the MLS in New York City, because we want to be special and different. The RLS is the residential listing service. So that's by REBNY. REBNY is the Real Estate Board of New York. And what I noticed, so what they have is when you go to a website, you have to register. And when you register, obviously you give your information, and that's known as a lead. It could be a buyer, it could be a seller, it could be, a renter, a landlord, whatever. They're known as a lead. Obviously I'm putting in quotes because that's standard in the industry. For anyone that's outside the industry that's watching this, it's kind of the good thing is people landing on your website. But what I noticed is I wasn't really getting any leads. So the $3,000 didn't make sense. Then I went to another company and I said, hey, listen, just build me out a generic website. I noticed that the traffic isn't there. I don't really care. Just make it all right and make it mobile friendly. That's it. That's really to provide. And by the way, I also have experience of having listings at Halstead Property, which is a massive company. Well, massive, like obviously Corcoran and Element are bigger, and then outside of you have Remax and Coldwell Banker and Century 21 and everything else, where they have a lot more agents. But Halstead Property is a pretty good option to go onto a website. They have a ton of listings, they have a lot of offices, they have a lot of depth, they also go across Europe and everything else. But what I noticed is that people still didn't even use Halstead, or at least to find me and use the form to see a listing. I noticed that. They would always go through a broker, which is through the internal system, or they would go through StreetEasy. And I was like, that's weird. Halstead is probably paying, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I have no idea. But they're paying a lot of money for this website, the upkeep and the service and obviously the marketing and all this jazz. And yet there's no leads coming from there. Then they made this interesting move and they said, hey, listen, there's actually no leads coming from New York Times. So you have to pay for it if you want the listing to actually go to the New York Times. And that was when I was still there. And I was like, wow. I was like, there's a total shift going on. There's a whole market shift going on, is that people go to one central place. As long as it's good, they just go to Amazon to buy things. They just go to Street Easy to look at listings. What's my homeowner and I want to sell, or what are the options I have in this certain price range? So this is the thing is, I have a website. We have 4 or 5 listings that are active right now. There's a variety of different price points. We have one that's $429,000, which is a starter studio. I hope somebody puts an offer on that today. All the way up to $2 million, and then we've had even higher. So we have a pretty big. Granted, we don't have $10 million townhouses yet, but what I could say is the value of the brokerage website is only going to have twofold. Number one is your branding. You have to have a website. It's not websites are going away. Maybe in the future. I have no idea, but not right now. So you have to have the branding. It has to look good. It has to look clean. It has to look neat, and it has to be mobile friendly. Mandatory, because there's a lot of websites that are independent brokers or they're smaller companies or whatever, and you go to this and it's like, who created this? When was this created? It's kind of like it's kind of like this amazing food comes out, but it's a mess. It's a mess. It's all over the place. It's mixed in. The vegetables are over here. The meat and the potatoes. It's all just one big, just soup, just disgusting. Or you have it neatly put together and you're like, oh, it's a nice presentation. So it kind of adds a little bit of reputation. It's not everything, but it doesn't take away from the company. So that's number one. Number two is you have to create content. That is the number one thing going forward. Us as real estate agents, us as brokerages have to create content. Honestly, I'm literally going to be going away from the website I have now, which is bpi.com, and we're going to be going to BPI, or I'm sorry, I wish I had bpi.com. I actually inquired about it. It's $75,000. I was like, give me a year and a half, 2 years to save up the money to buy that .com. So aboatinstead.com is the typical website that we have. It's user friendly and has the website. Blah, blah. But we're building out bpi.live. Okay, bpi.co is taken, bpi.net was taken. Because BPI there's a bank and everything else. I'm not going to get into it. But we have bpi.live, and we're building out content-based value around not only our brand but our mission. Okay, and this isn't like a plug or anything else. This is where people are going to have to go. Your front page is no longer going to be listings. Maybe the top part, but everything below the fold, everything where you have to scroll has to be content. It has to be giving the user experience, not we're the best, not this is how to buy a home. It's specific, transparent ways that you're going to be taken through the process with this company. With us, we have a checklist as an owner, 75 different things on here, and you're going to do all these. Websites are dead. Brokerage websites are not dead. They are dead if they only provide listings. If you provide value and you provide content and you provide things that are user friendly, like buying a home, these are the 3 top mistakes. Prepping your home, these are the 4 ways to provide value. If you're moving to New York City, these are the 5 areas to consider based on, if you are, I don't know, looking downtown. This is what to expect. If you're looking in Midtown, it's going to be a little bit more crazy because there's tourists. If you're downtown, you're going to have the small shops. It's more of a boutique kind of feel, good shopping, good restaurants. Soho, it's a little bit crowded. Financial District was the up and coming. Now it's up and came. And then you have Battery Park City. There's a great, and those are the things that you're going to be putting in your website. Number one, it's good for SEO. Number two is that as people stay on the website, they're going to be staying there and they're going to be reading your content. Okay, the number one thing is content generation. If you look at my social, I'm now moving into and by the way, you could change this at any time. This isn't like, well, we've always done this. I know Halstead went through a rebranding. It's like, yeah, they went through a rebranding. They rebranded like 5 or 6, or maybe longer than that, maybe 10 years ago, probably longer, 10, 15 years ago. And then they went from a red color where they started in whatever year. Then they went to a green color, which was a little bit more welcoming. And then they went to this grayish style of, I guess, more professionalism, kind of like a Brown Howard Stevens. And you look at that, and they're rebranding after all these years, and that's the exact same way that we should be. It's, you know, the late and the best, I would say, person for management company was Peter Drucker. He came out with the Something Managing Oneself, great book, highly recommended. I read it twice, literally in the same sitting. I went through it and I was like, wow. Then I went through it again and I was like, wow. So he said two things to sustainability is innovation and marketing, okay? If you innovate and you don't get your product and your message out there, which is marketing, you're done, okay? If you only just go with marketing, you're done. If you only go, Best Buy is a perfect way, is that they did not innovate. Walmart is a perfect way that they had to buy Jet.com to actually compete with Amazon, okay? Now you have these two massive forces, okay? Which is really funny because Amazon is now moving into the footprint business of getting physical locations, which is sort of Whole Foods, but Walmart was already there, but they didn't have an online presence. They had the cash flow, they had all the money. It's just they had to get there. It's the same thing with the real estate agents and us, is that, as you can see by the title of this, empowering the agent is based on the content you're producing, the value that the consumer sees in not only your product and your service. No longer is there's too much competition. It's really what it comes down to. And the competition isn't just real estate agents. You know, the competition are teams. I feel the future are teams. It's not going to be big, massive brokerages. It's going to be teams that are very specific to not only an area, they know how to do the process, they are transparent, they get their word out there. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing the live, you know, and literally almost every day I'm going to be going live. You know, right now we have probably about 20 minutes. I can't see how long I've been talking for. 22 minutes. And this is going to be something that we're going to be doing in the future almost every single day, that I'm not either doing a property tour or I'm getting out there in front of a client. 10 o'clock, going live and talking about the things that nobody wants to talk about. You know, tomorrow's about seller strategy. Why are you telling sellers what to do? No, I'm actually giving them value so they see, oh, okay, Charles knows what he's talking about. He's a great resource. Use him. That's exactly why we're doing it. That's exactly, you can't provide too much information. The people that provide too much information are the ones that win. Why? Because they have to hold themselves accountable. They have to hold themselves accountable to actually getting better. You know, I'll just leave you with this, is that, and by the way, that phrase, I'll just leave you with this, is something that I always say on my personal YouTube channel. So that means usually I'm wrapping up, but not really. I usually have like another, you know, couple of minutes. But right now, I will leave you with this, is that Elon Musk was, you know, obviously they're having some difficulty with getting their new, I think it's Model 3 or Model X. I don't know. One of them is having some production delays. Actually, I think all of them. And he just did a CBS interview, and it was unbelievable. So they were at the factory, and they were touring around, and he said, we have actually too many robots. They went so fully automated that they need to add humans back into the process because the robots were actually slowing it down. They didn't get the process right. They didn't get the flow right, which is very interesting. And he said something even more interesting. And actually, Jeff Bezos followed this up with something else. In a similar situation is that we should be held accountable. You should at any time be able to walk through my factory. And he's saying this to the CBS correspondent. He said, you should be able to walk through my factory at any time. Like, you should be able to walk through Ford, GM, Jaguar, if they're still in business, Land Rover, and everyone else. You should be able to walk through there, that there's safety protocol that's going on, that no one's doing anything illegal like drinking or smoking on the job. You should just, maximum transparency is everything. You know, that's why he literally has something called OpenAI. It's OpenAI, or he opened his, I think it's actually his car company. He opened it up so they could see how they actually do the automation. You know, you can automatically drive without actually being behind there. You don't have to manually steer the wheel. Obviously, there has to be, you know, governmental approval for them to fully do that. However, they have the software, and they opened that software out. Number one, Jeff Bezos was asked recently, because I think the Trump administration is going after him for having a monopoly. You know, I don't know if they're going after him. I don't know. I haven't read into it, but they asked Bezos, and Bezos was at an event recently and answered it. Very interesting answer. And he didn't I don't know if people said he skirted the issue or he skirted the question. I don't see it that way. I see it that he gave an answer very similar to Musk, which is we have nothing to hide. You know, I feel we should be scrutinized. I feel that there should be governmental regulation, not only on us, but other companies. And it was a very interesting concept. And that's exactly how I see every industry going. Whether you're in real estate, you're in pharmaceuticals, you're in medical, you're in fashion or whatever, is just show the behind the scenes if you're in fashion. Show the behind the scenes if you're in real estate. This is exactly what we're going to be doing through the entire process. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I don't know how many people are actually watching or watched or whatever, but we're going to be going live tomorrow. The subject is seller strategy. The name of the show is Seller Strategy. So on Mondays, we're going to have BPIU, which is for real estate agents. Seller Strategy, the real estate show, which is going to be on Wednesday. And Thursday, we're going to be doing Hot Topic. That's always going to be everybody's favorite because we're going to be talking about things that people don't want to talk about. And then on Friday, we're just going to wrap it up with something called Yawa, which is you ask, we answer. And it's going to be just under 60-second answers to anything. We're going to be going live on Facebook and obviously BPI YouTube. This is the quality on, I'm assuming the quality on this DSLR camera with Wi-Fi is going to be better than the iPhone that's right here. But either way, subscribe to the video, leave your comments below. Obviously, we're an open book. Answer any questions. Are real estate agents overpaid? Do you think that, how many agents will be in the industry in 10 years? What do you think the next thing is going to be to disrupt the real estate agent? And in general, I've been looking at other industries because it's kind of forecasting what is going to be happening. You know, video is massive. If you're not getting into video, you're kind of screwed. Number one. Number two is you also have to understand that convenience is going to be everything. So if you are slowing down the process, you're done. If you get in the way of what they want to do, the consumer, you're done. That's just number one, is that they want to save time. They want you to do what you need to do, that you're hired to do, and just get it done. Okay, just get it done, and then have people tout on the top of the world saying BPI is the best, or you know Joe Bob on Long Island is the best, whatever the case is. And I'll leave you with this last thing that I was talking about in my mind as I was saying that, is that if you are not looking to eliminate things that you're doing that is completely unnecessary. I started this off with park benches and bus stops and on shopping carts. That's unnecessary. All the attention is on mobile. So go to mobile. It's your website. It has to go to mobile. It just has to be good enough. Once you go good enough, then you start adding the value. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. I'm going to be subscribing or leaving you guys right now, and we're going to be going live tomorrow. Of course, if you have any questions, subscribe to the video, leave it below. I'll talk to you guys soon.